Good day to Doctor. We are from Group 5. Our group is going to present about the risk management of Hak Seng Industry Berhad, which is a company in the consumer product industry. So here's the list of the group member of Group 5. Firstly, our group is going to present about Hak Seng company background, followed by the risk committee. Next is the risk matrix, and lastly, we will present about the 15 identified risks based on 5 extent.
Good day to Doctor. My name is Pok Yan Lee, matric number 278712. I will introduce the background of our selected company, which is the Hak Seng Industry Berhad, HSIB. It was incorporated on 4th of October in 1991 and was later listed on the main board of the Bursa Malaysia Security Berhad on 2nd of November in 2000. HSIB has 3 subsidiaries company, which is already showing in the slide. Its main products are the biscuit, beverage, and other agent products.
Good day, Doctor. My name is Teng Pei Sing and metric number 280306. I will present the risk committee part. Hak Seng successfully fulfilled listing requirement with a 1/3 ratio of independent non-executive director on its board. This balance ensures corporate accountability, allowing independent directors to offer valuable advice and unbiased judgment, while executive directors handle daily operations. Their contribution has been instrumental in making fair decisions on corporate matters over the years. Mr. Raja Khairul Anwar bin Raja Mokhtar is an independent non-executive director who has devoted over 9 years to the board. His independent, accumulated industry experience and profound understanding of the group have enhanced the board's effectiveness. The board strongly recommends the retention of Mr. Raja Khairul as he has not compromised the company.
Good day to Doctor. My name is Khon Suzwan with a metric number 280650. Now I will present about the risk metric for Hak Seng. So there are 4 levels of impacts and 4 levels of likelihood in the risk metric. And lastly, we will come up with a 4 level of urgency, which is from low to extremely high. The level of impacts is evaluated based on the consequences of the risk towards the company based on the operation performance, business performances, financial performances, legal regulations, and also the company reputation. Meanwhile, the likelihood is evaluated based on the frequency of the risk occur in the company within 10 years. Our group has plotted the 15 identified risks in the risk metric based on their urgency level. The most urgent risk is the financial performance risk. Meanwhile, the least urgent risk is the knowledge and competency risk. Our group will continue the presentation based on the ranking of their urgency in the risk metric.
The first one is the financial performance risk, which is the likelihood of financial loss or failure. The risk criteria for financial performance risk is the financial ratio. The table in this slide shows that HSIB financial performance is actually declining. Therefore, the financial ratios for HSIB should not be lower than the industry average. As a result, HSIB has a moderate risk appetite and low acceptability of financial performance risk. The factor for financial performance risk is the cost and expense management. This is because the rising of raw material prices and labor costs increase the expense and therefore reduce the net profit. To identify the risk, HSIB may compute the wider financial ratios such as the gearing ratio and compare them with historical trends or industry average. Lastly, HSIB can accept and manage the financial performance risk by maintaining sufficient cash or cash equivalent.
Good day, Doctor. My name is Loisa, metric number 279662. The risk that can be found in HSIB is credit risk. The risk criterion for this risk is provision metric that calculate expected credit losses at each reporting date. HSIB divides the credit risk into 5 categories when determining the current provision rates. Besides, the credit risk concentration is used by HSIB. HSIB divides the customer segment by country and by industry sector. The risk appetite for credit risk is the expected credit loss should not exceed 0.1% of the total account receivable. Therefore, there is a low risk appetite and high acceptability for the credit risk. The risk factor is receivable collection period. HSIB can analyze the 5C of credit to help raise or lower the credit risk. The technique used is provision metric. HSIB can apply the historical credit loss experience and historical loss rates to those periods and receivables that are not yet impaired. HSIB should accept and manage the credit risk. When the gross profit of HSIB is high, the credit risk will become insignificant.
The third urgent risk is the raw material price volatility risk. It's the degree of variation or fluctuation in the price of raw material. There are two risk criteria for the risk. The first criteria for the risk is financial impact, which is to assess the potential impact of raw material price volatility on the cost of sales, gross margin, and profitability. Our group has performed a partial vertical analysis on the income statement of Hap Seng for 4 quarters in 2022. As you can see, the green color indicates the best condition, while the red color indicates the worst condition. Hap Seng recorded the highest cost of sales in second quarter and lowest in fourth quarter. As a result, Hap Seng had the lowest gross profit and net profit in second quarter and the highest in fourth quarter. Therefore, we can conclude that the raw material price volatility has a very huge impact towards the company cost of sales, gross profit, and net profit. The second risk criteria is the pricing flexibility. It's the ability to transfer the cost increment to consumers by adjusting the product pricing. So in 2022, Hap Seng had increased their price from 4 ringgit and 50 cents to 4 ringgit and 95 cents, which is a 10% of increment. But at the same time, they maintained almost the same price with their competitors. Therefore, we can conclude that Hap Seng has the ability to adjust the price during the raw material price volatility. Next, the risk appetite of Hap Seng towards the raw material price volatility risk is the gross profit margin should not less than 3%, and they are able to adjust the pricing at least 10%, but not exceed their competitor price. Thus, they have a low risk appetite and low acceptability for the risk. Next, we will focus on the risk factor of raw material price volatility risk. We will focus more on crude palm oil fluctuations. So the first reason is because edible oil supply chain disruption due to the Ukraine-Russian war. The second is due to the Indonesian export regulation, followed by the foreign labor shortage in Malaysia, and the last one is due to the unpredictable weather conditions in Malaysia. The analysis technique we have used for the risk is the historical data analysis. And the risk response toward the raw material price volatility risk is to mitigate it by purchasing the hedging arrangement when purchasing the raw material.
Production cost overrun risk. Hap Seng has faced increased operating costs due to the rising commodity and food price, disruption in global supply chains caused by COVID-19, and the Russia-Ukraine war, as well as the new Malaysian minimum salary. The risk criteria is cost variance. It is the difference between actual and anticipated project expenses at a specific time. The best idea for cost variance is zero cost variance. Nevertheless, Hap Seng is hard to do so. Hap Seng would maintain its cost variance at 20% to avoid maximum cost variance. Third, Hap Seng has a moderate risk appetite and acceptability. The risk factor is inaccurate cost estimation. It does not help if the Hap Seng includes the exact costing and project execution teams, as they may not remember every area of cost overrun. Therefore, they cannot implement corrective and preventive actions when they develop costs. Historical data analysis involves analyzing previous production projects, their associated costs, and the factors contributing to cost overrun. By looking at previous projects and their costs, Hap Seng can identify the patterns and reasons for cost overrun. Hence, Hap Seng should accept and manage the risk through improved cost estimating and budget process. Hap Seng can compare the actual data with past data to enhance the accuracy of cost estimation. Machinery breakdown risk. Since Hap Seng is one of the largest food producers in Malaysia, it uses the machine to produce products daily, and this will cause its part to wear out. Next, the risk criteria is impact on operation. Hap Seng priority uninterrupted production to deliver safe and high-quality food. The proposed acquisition of a new production line can prove this. Hap Seng can set a threshold of up to 2% of gross income for losses related to machinery failure to identify risk. Assuming Hap Seng's revenue of 318 million, the financial loss due to the machinery failure this year will be less than 6.3 million. Third, Hap Seng has a low risk appetite and acceptability. The risk factor is lack of preventive maintenance. Failure to perform routine inspection can result in equipment breakdown. The mean time to failure figures suggest that the new machines are more likely to fail in the first few weeks due to the installation issues. Afterward, the failure chance decrease but rise again later in the machine life cycle. Hapsing can identify time frame for a machine at the start-out point, normal life, and wear-out point to detect the risk level. Therefore, implementing machinery performance monitoring system help Hapsing track machine condition using sensors and data analysis to detect breakdown warning early. Hence, Hapsing should accept and manage the machinery breakdown risk through equipment health monitoring. Hapsing can also replace the old machinery to maintain the acceptable performance.
The sixth urgent risk is the competition risk. It refers to the potential threats and challenges resulting from the competitive environment in which the business operates. The risk criteria for the risk is the market share and concentration. We have tracked the Hapsing relative position in biscuits and beverage industry compared to its competitor. Hapsing has a very significant market share in Malaysia biscuits industry. However, for beverage, it's very low. Therefore, the risk appetite for Hapsing toward the risk is the biscuit market proportion should not less than 9%. Meanwhile, the beverage product should not generate less than 3.5% of the total revenue. Thus, Hapsing has a medium risk appetite and medium acceptability towards the competition risk. The risk factor of competition risk is due to the intense market competition from local and global. Meanwhile, we have utilized the SWOT analysis and social media monitoring to do the analysis. So, the risk response toward the competition risk is accept and manage it by widen the revenue base, innovate the current products, and brainstorm the interesting marketing methods.
Good day, doctor. My name is Oniman. My matrix number is 277296. I will continue present on dependence on foreign labor risk, innovation or R&D risk, and knowledge or competency risk. First, what is dependence on foreign labor risk? It exists when the company significantly rely on the foreign labor to fulfill the demand for lacking local labor and save the labor costs. The risk criteria is the percentage of the foreign labor and the total number of employees needed. It can indicate that the company know how much they hire the foreign labor in their operation. And this pie chart shows that the company has more than 80% of its local employees and only 70% of foreign employees. The risk appetite is local employees should more than 80%, while the foreign labor should not more than 20%. The company has followed this proportion that's set by the government, so it has a low appetite and low acceptability. The first risk factor is change in law and regulation governing the foreign labor. The government amend the Employment Act and add the new requirement when hiring the foreign labor, which is they must get the approval from the country's Director General of Labor. This made the company more challenges in hiring the foreign labor. Second is the cultural and language barriers. Hiring the foreign laborers will easily happen in effective communication, misinterpreted message, discrimination, or dispute in the workplace. Then it will affect the efficiencies of the company. The technique can use to analyze is the scenario planning. It can help to identify the possible causes that will happen and develop and analyze the possible scenarios based on the causes. Therefore, the company should accept and manage by developing and upgrading the plans and machinery. Next, we move on to the innovation or R&D risk. It is the danger that R&D could not achieve the expected result. The risk criteria is R&D success matrix. It should involve the number of successful product launch and the revenue generated from the new products. However, the company do not launch any new products, so there is no information from revenue generated from the new products. When the company produces a new product, it should target not less than 5% of its total sales, as currently they have 3.5% of its total revenue is from the beverage and other agents products. So, The company has the moderate risk appetite and low acceptability. The risk factor is lack of creative ideas because the company faces challenges in producing the new and healthier products. It also can prove by their product packaging design also not change. The technique can use is external benchmarking. By compare the research cooperation, innovation awards with the competitors. It also can examine the techniques, process, or techniques that encourage the creativity or idea creation to identify the gaps and risks. Therefore, the company should manage and accept the risk by done the market research and talent recruitment and development.
Furthermore, the product quality risk is the risk that faced by SHIB. The risk criteria is the customer satisfaction rate. SHIB can gather the data in real time through feedback surveys, social media channels, and the corporate website. Not only that, but also the type of raw material used by the SHIB. A product can be easily banned in a foreign market without careful quality assurance. SHIB relies on evaluation of the performance of the suppliers, and all active suppliers must participate in it. For the risk appetite, the customer satisfaction rate for the product should be more than 70%. Quality of raw material should be maintained at 95% and above, and the performance of the supplier should not be less than 90%. There is a high risk appetite and medium acceptability for the product quality risk. The risk factor is the amount of training and development completed by the employee. SHIB carry out the inspection to maintain the product qualities. Next is the time reviewing the product ingredients. The R&D department and an independent third party of HSIB needs to regularly review the manufacturing processes. HSIB used the requirement review as a technique to review the project level, material or financial requirements. This allowed the company to determine the degree of product quality risk they will encounter and accept. The product quality risk should be accepted and managed by the HSIB.
Health and safety hazard risk. In 2022, Hapsing incurred one accident case and 0.4 million man-hours for lost time injury frequency rate, which is relatively low, but Hapsing cannot take it lightly as it still can happen. The risk criteria is probability of occurrence. By understanding the frequency and risk of the hazards, Hapsing can adopt a zero-tolerance attitude toward valuation and follow regulation. They can continuously review and improve their policy to ensure the health and safety of all workers. Therefore, it is clear that Hapsing has a low risk appetite and acceptability. The risk factor is the lack of training and awareness. Insufficient health and safety training at Hapsing increase the hazard risk. The employers may face legal consequences, moral issues, and absenteeism if they cannot provide employees with the information regarding safety. Job hazard analysis involves breaking down the tasks and identifying associated risks. Hapsing can prevent the injury through proper procedures and training. Hapsing should accept and manage the health and safety hazard risk by creating strong policy, addressing hazards, and providing clear guidelines. Training programs should be designed in Hapsing to ensure the employee have the knowledge and skills to perform their work safely.
The next identified risk is the continuity risk, which is the possibility that a company may be difficult to sustain its operation. The losses incurred from business impact, such as COVID-19 pandemic, suspected compound found in Hapsing crackers, and rising cost of sales, are the criteria to determine the continuity risk. As a result, HSIB has a moderate risk appetite and low acceptability of continuity risk. Business interruptions such as accidents, infrastructure failures, and supply chain disruption are the risk factor. HSIB can identify the continuity risk by performing business impact analysis. Lastly, HSIB can mitigate the continuity risk by insurance coverage, such as the business interruption insurance. The following identified risk is the long-term viability and growth rate risk. It's a capacity of a company to sustain profitability and maintain its business operation for a more extended period. The criteria for this risk is comparing HSIB's financial metric with its competitor. As a result, HSIB's financial metric should not be below its competitor. So HSIB has a moderate risk appetite and a moderate acceptability for a long-term viability and growth rate risk. Market demand and trends are the factor for this risk, such as the changes in customer preference and new product innovations. HSIB can perform SWOT analysis and R&D evaluation to identify the factors that affect the company's long-term viability and growth rate. Lastly, HSIB shall mitigate this risk by doing corporate social responsibility, which is the CSR, including the food donations and fundraising campaigns. So that's all for my part. Thank you.
The 13th risk, according to the risk metric, is the changes in consumer preference risk. It's referred to the changes in customer taste and satisfaction. So the risk criteria for the risk is the purchase rate, which is the proportion of customers who have made multiple purchases within a specific time frame. Therefore, the risk appetite of Hapseng toward the risk is the repurchase rate should more than 95%, and thus Hapseng has a medium risk appetite and high acceptability for the risk. Next, the risk factor of the risk is due to the increment of health and wellness awareness among the Malaysians. The left-hand side shows the ingredients to make the Hapseng cream cracker, and the ingredient I highlight in the red wording is the ingredient that are not healthy according to WHO. And then, 4 pieces of Hapseng cream cracker can produce to 160 grams of calories, which is pretty unhealthy. Next, we have used market research to do the analysis. And lastly, the risk response toward the risk is to accept and manage it. Hapseng should enhance and promote their curd and natural brand biscuit as it's a healthy biscuit. And then do modifications to Hapseng cream cracker ingredients. And lastly, develop new products such as protein bars or any other healthy biscuit.
The non-compliance with regulatory standards is the risk that we can find in SHIB. The risk criterion SHIB needs to measure is the volume of generator waste. SHIB regularly reviews the generator waste. As a result, the generator waste decreased in past 3 years. Secondly, the risk criterion is the performance of water management. They must ensure that the wastewater generated is treated and meets all the regulatory requirements. Last but not least, the number of penalties and fines from regulatory agencies. The company has never recorded an environmental regulation violation for the past 3 fiscal years in Annual Report 2022. SHIB target to reduce the generator waste by approximately 25% every year, not less than 85% of the wastewater to be treated, and aim to record 0 penalties. There is a low risk appetite and low acceptability for the risk. The times, rules, and updates of compliance procedures are one of the risk factors. HSIB observe on any losses during the production process. The following risk factor is the number of information on the product packaging. HSIB provides additional information that might maximize the fulfillment of the consumers. Next, compliance risk management (CRM) is the technique that can be used to ensure that the company complies with applicable regulations and standards. HSIB must conduct CRM programs since they allows HSIB to record the potential losses that the company may experience. HSIB should mitigate non-compliance to standard regulatory risks.
I will continue to present on knowledge or competency risk. It is the possible adverse effect resulting from individuals or teams their lack of knowledge or skills in performing their jobs and responsibility. The risk criteria is the performance traits and targets. It should involve measuring the work quantity, quality, and efficiency of each employee's teams and departments. So for the risk appetite, regarding the quality, we can use the error percentage and target does not exceed the 5%. For the quantity, we can use the number of units produced and should target an increase no more than 10% every year. Finally, the efficiency of employees can be measured by the average time for complete the task, but the target will be depend differently for their departments and tasks. Overall, the employee performance should not less than 80%. Therefore, the company has a moderate risk appetite and low acceptability for this risk. The risk factor is the knowledge or skill gaps that happen in the employees. This is caused by the company employ the employees that not enough experience or not suitable for this position. The risk will increase again when there is lack of lack of training provided. The technique can use is 360-degree feedback appraisal. It can help to identify the high and low performers, rewarding, emphasizing the training needs, and identify their employees' weakness. Therefore, the company should accept and manage the knowledge and competency risk by providing the training and mentoring programs. Finally, that's all my end group presentation. Thank you.